Hello everybody, it's Friday night and it is Weekender time once more. And on this week's show we have a joyride careening through the forest and finally ending up in a land far, far away. But before we get into that, we have this week's prize, which comes courtesy of Wargames exclusive. One lucky viewer will get a chance to win 3 Primaris E type heroic characters for your 40k games with the Imperial Raven Commander, an Imperial Chaplain, and a librarian based on Vader. If you want to win this spectacular trio of friends, then you need to be a commenter on the video and also a subscriber to the channel. Do this thing, do it now. Okay then, sit back and relax because your weekend starts here. Hello everybody and welcome to the Weekender. I'm joined this week by Shay, Ben and John.
Hello.
For our gentle hobby meander.
Hello. I'm keeping up the silly voices thing at the start of the show.
That is what people are crying out for in the comments, weirdly.
Yeah.
Well, I imagine there's going to be some sort of fan edit at the end of the year, supercut of all the baffling.
Hello.
That type of thing. Something to look forward to, I suppose, isn't it? Yeah. Love that.
Dreams.
Well, they can't come true. How's your week been going so far? It's been a busy one.
Yes, it has been. There's been lots of interesting things happening, of which we'll go into, of course. But yeah,
there's been some fascinating stuff happening with us as well. Myself and Shay have been plugging our way through Stalingrad a bit more as well.
Yeah, the campaign continues.
Despite people above us attempting to, I believe, tunnel into us in some sort of Covent Garden jewel robbery style. It certainly felt like they were attempting to cut concrete right above our heads. So
wow, I thought it was the bull people, but thankfully it wasn't.
So if you do hear that on a future one, sorry, now we could do about it.
It was just them trying to build the ambience of artillery-ridden Stalingrad. So
that's what it was.
But yeah, it's all going well currently, unless there's a sweeping victory in the next couple of campaign turns. It could go all the way to Christmas. Year of Stalingrad. Finishing,
and then Jerry and Shay will play football.
Yes. Yes.
Actually, we were discussing how if it goes all the way through to Christmas about how the last game will look. We'll leave that one. That'll be a little Brucey bonus if we get that far.
Amazing.
If it begins or if it ends before then, we'll cut that one short. But yeah, that's been quite fun. And then there's been some other little bits and bobs. I managed to get a chance to sit down with Matt Gilberts, the head of Mantic Studio, for a little chat about Warpath. It didn't go off the rails, but he did throw a couple of little nuggety gems in there for some of the other games as well, which was delightful. So yes, if you're interested in seeing where that's gone, because I know we talked about it last week. It's only last week. God, last week's a long time, isn't it? In the tiny fighting men world.
Yeah.
So last week they were talking about going out to the community. There's an update on that. So yeah, if you haven't seen that, if you're interested in epic scale Warpath, which I now have a scale as well. It's floated around a lot at various sizes, although it's still not absolutely 100% tied on that it will be 10 mil. But they have scaled the enforcers to be taller.
Which would make sense.
Because they're bigger, so they're scaled at 11 mil or 12 to head height. So, but anyway, yeah. Because
don't worry, it's all going to be 13.5, and everyone's going to have a meltdown, and
then whatever way it goes. But yeah, if you're interested, in small scale sci-fi or just Mantic sci-fi games as well, because like I said, we do ramble a little in there, which is not like me. But there you go.
Some of the Ronnie magic rubbing off on him.
The best bit was literally before we started, like 15 minutes before we started filming. Ronnie put out an announcement, like a little blog update about stuff, and in that he talked about Warpath, and then we sat before we hit record. I went and blah blah blah. I've seen the announcement Ronnie's just put out, and Matt went, "What announcement?" When he said this, he went, "He's not told me." Okay. Well, he said that, so should we mention that then? It's like, okay, you know more than I do at this stage. Go, well done, Ronnie. Well done. Good job. Once again,
we love him.
He's just off like a squirrel with ADHD. Off he goes. All right, we should kick into the show. There are a couple of important announcements. Starting with this year's Great Wargaming Survey. Surveys everywhere this time.
Surveys everywhere. Yeah, so this is Wargames Soldiers and Strategy. They have launched their new survey for this year. Much like every year, it is taking the pulse of the wargaming world, as it were. So it takes about 10 minutes to complete. Less than that if you don't want to write too much. And you can sort of give the folks at Wargames Soldiers and Strategy an idea of kind of the way that you play games and what you delve into. It's pretty good, actually, and there's some interesting questions in there. Some of them have changed from last year. They've been updated to kind of fit into the modern wargaming world that we have now, which is very cool. And there's some very interesting questions at the end as well, which are where you can sort of expand on things and type a little bit, which I did, which was cool. So it'll be interesting to see where it all comes from. They're even now releasing information about the 2022 survey through blog posts and things, and discussing that and things as well. So it's well worth having a look through that as well, and sort of seeing where things have gone since last year and sort of where things are changing. But yeah, it's very interesting. It's very much focused on obviously board gaming. So if you're a board or card gamer, there's not very much in here for you. But if you are a miniatures fiend, definitely go and check this out. Just by taking part, you can add your email into the mix, and you'll get the chance to win a huge stack of goodies, which is very cool, from a variety of different friendly people that have jumped on board with the magazine. But even for just taking part, you'll also get yourself an STL file, which you can print off at home. You get a little code to get it from Wargames Atlantic. It's a very nice airborne miniature that you can get 3D printed. So you might want to get that and go, hello. Could you print this for me, please? I quite like it, but I don't have a printer. So yeah, do that to your best friends. There you go.
Fantastic.
Shay, John.
You also get a voucher for specifically for the publisher, which means you can spend it on other things. It is interesting if you've not looked at the previous Wargames Soldiers and Strategies. The magazine's great. I'm a subscriber. I get it anyway. I'm not worried about that. The books, Ancient History, Ancient Warfare, Medieval World, are like magazine type things, of which I have some. Well,
you often find them in Waterstones.
Yeah. But they do full on hardback books as well on various points and bits and pieces. But it means you can come in here and have a look at things like the previous results of, like you're saying, the other Wargames Soldiers and Strategy surveys. The thing I like about them is when they complete, they don't just go, here's the survey, here's the results, boom. They actually do some statistical analysis on it and break it down and go into what it is and what it means. Now, obviously, survey's only as good as the amount of people you get to take it. So because it comes from let's face it, specifically a historic focused magazine, they do other genres these days, but it's mainly historics, which means you get a historic slant. So it will show certain things like sci-fi and fantasy as being sort of less intrinsic in the hobby, and therefore you might get a knock-on where metal and resin are more important to people than plastic. But if you're not a historic player, if you are just like full on 40k, go and take the survey, because even though your results will be wrong, they give a much better indication of where the community is, all these bits and pieces, because you always get these interesting little nuggets that sort of come out about things like there's a whole perception of the graying hobby where that may not actually be the case, but because
it's interesting seeing the age changes and stuff.
So yes,
the other thing that's quite good about things like this is that it takes the beat of the heartbeat of the whole hobby. Like one of the things that a couple of YouTubers talked about, like Discord's talked about it and some of her videos and things, is that there's very much this focus on it being the Warhammer hobby from Games Workshop, and that kind of filters through into what everybody else does. But then everyone's like, no, hold on a second, there are other games, And so this is a great way of kind of sort of taking the pulse of all those other games that exist out there, and a wide array of wargamers, Warhammer game is included. I love Warhammer as much as the next person. And so it's just nice to see it all distilled down into a very interesting sort of pot of results.
Yeah.
So, very cool.
So do it, get your voucher, get a copy of Wargames, Soldiers and Strategy, or put a down payment on a big book on the Greek hoplites, which is a really good book, actually, by the way. Warriors of Ares.
Right. Learned about Spartans this week. Nice little segment.
Nice. Right. Apart from the Great Wargaming Survey, there's another community-based thing, which is the Frostgrave Diorama Auction.
Yeah. So this one comes from Paul Cook of Pandemonium Miniatures. They've worked to create a pretty stunning diorama based in the world of Frostgrave, where you've got the two sisters going up against a necromancer in the ruins of the frozen city of Felstad. But it's not just been created for the sake of creating it. It's actually been designed as part of a charity auction, as Jerry was saying there. So you can go over to the Just Giving page, and you'll be sneaky. And you can sort of drop a donation there of at least £5. You can drop more if you want to. You can also drop less if you want as well, if you really want. And you just simply answer a question: who is the author of Frostgrave? And you could be in with a chance of winning this. Now, this has all been done in the aid of the Alzheimer's Society and in memory of his father, Peter Cook. So it's all for a very good cause. So if you wanted to go over, check out the Just Giving page. There's some more information on the competition there as well. Like, for example, if you want to do multiple entries, you have to do multiple donations of £5 and things like that. You can't just drop £15 in one and all that kind of thing. So there's lots of little intricacies, but don't worry too much about that. It's just about heading on over, helping out charity, and potentially walking away with a absolutely stunning diorama that would look lovely on someone's mantelpiece, I reckon. So yeah, very cool.
Some absolutely beautiful work there. And a really good charity as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's very worthwhile. Sneaky spider. What else is hiding in amongst that? Might be plenty of other little nooks and crannies that have been filled with stuff for you to have a look at.
There's a fair few people who have helped Paul bring this to life as well. So make sure to go and check out the link down below, where there's a list of all the companies and things that he's got things from and all that kind of stuff as well. So everyone's pulled together to create a very nice little charity auction here. So yeah, go and check it out. Very cool.
Right. Time to get stuck into the show proper. We will, of course, start with the most important part, the indie of the week.
Oh, but what is it, Jerry? I don't know. It's not on the sheet.
I know, it's great, isn't it? I love the look of fear and terror in your eyes. This week, we're going to be taking a look at Wee Wolf Miniatures.
Oh, well, automatically, I'm in love. So,
it's a small company out of Americoa.
Run by a dog.
Still more impressive. No pushable thumbs. I'm hoping at some point they'll get Lovecraft 2020 to do some painting. Being a cat, that's a massive tribute. As you can see, they have a sort of a early 20th century, late 19th century sort of bent. So you've got some World War I, Austro-Hungarians, Great Northern War, Franco-Prussian, and then Awez. Cool. Come to Awez at the end. So the idea is no range will be started if it's never going to be completed. So some of them are relatively new and are still sort of building, but it does give you an idea of where things are going. So the World War I is the biggest at the moment. Also big pictures, which I'm sure Lloyd would love. What a shame I've done this in the week. He's not here. Oh no!
Somewhere Lloyd is in his gaming shed that's being built, going, yes.
Don't worry. The next time Lloyd's back, I've got a whole slew of stuff. Oh, half of them don't even have pictures. That's really, but the stuff that does have pictures are quite nice. So.
You just have to imagine.
Yeah. I love it. It's the good old days. Anyway, so Franco-Prussian French.
Wow.
Some really nice.
Those are really cool
figures in here. Bush, and as you can see, the sort of things you would expect: marching, advancing, running like lunatics, all of that, and so much.
I love that there is a distinct focus on mustaches. Facial hair is front and center, which makes sense in my opinion. So,
but of course,
yeah,
very, very much so. It's, nobody's chucking gas around at this point. You don't need to fit your face into a gas mask. Which is, I know somebody's frantically typing in the comments. We know that's not why they cut the mustaches down. But anyway. But yeah, so Franco-Prussian, interesting little start. Obviously, I mean, beyond that, you probably need some line artillery, which you can pick up from various places and go nuts with. So it's that's a little sort of sousson of figurines to begin with.
I like that they've still got are they called epaulets? The ones on the side, they've still got those on the
with the tasseled epaulets. Yeah.
It's very cool.
I mean, it really does bridge the gap between sort of Napoleonic and World War One, because you've got coming out of that era of Napoleonic with the very flashy uniforms, and then obviously, for the start of World War One, they hadn't really drifted too far away from this. But yes, it's quite cool. We'll take a look at the Austro-Hungarians because it's another relatively recent fellow.
Ooh, painted as well.
Yeah, don't get used to that. Just saying. But again, some nice figures in here for your they would work for a couple of different nationalities within that area of World War One. But with games like Blood and Valor and things like that popping around, World War One's getting a slight resurgence at the moment, which is quite nice. I also like the fact that guy's out signaling like a madman with his flags, which is great. It just makes it a really, I mean, you've got your medic, you've got your signalman, you've got a sniper at the end. It's just a nice little set of...
Stop shooting the artillery.
Of different...
I think he wants us to keep firing the artillery.
Maybe he's just auditioning for the front cover of Help. I don't know. Could go either way. Look at the tash on that. Look at those wicked handlebar.
Beautiful.
But yeah, some nice skirmishers, and then your junior officers who get the fun of being at the front, going, good luck, skipper. Lead those men into battle. Maybe you'll come home.
They won't come home.
And the senior officers who obviously need binoculars because they're so far behind the front line that they can't see it. They have to look out for the signalman going, everybody's dead.
They can just see the junior officer being shot.
Just the distance.
I learned this week that in the American Civil War, both the sides would normally build like signal towers behind the lines that the commanders would stand on. And I was like, it's very much the get me a ladder kind of thing. I need to see what's going.
Oh, very much so.
I picture the waving flags at each other from across the battlefield. It's just all obscenities.
He's just swearing at me in semaphore.
But yeah. So the Austro-Hungarians, quite nice. Here's one for Shay, which is the World War One set at the moment. Is all about the Russians. And it's quite nicely fleshed out. Supporting cast.
I love me.
Great way of doing it. Yeah,
love me some World War One Russians.
Not the tiny again. I need the big.
You need to be patient as well. Jerry.
Yeah. Click too quick. Again. Nice character and detail on them.
Yeah,
very nice.
He's a rough-looking old cove over there.
I love how every bearded man in a Russian army just ends up looking like Lenin. It's
I'll go one further. If I get the senior officers up.
Oh, hello.
Would you look who it is?
Look, he's got distinctly German, and by German I mean British, and by British I mean royalty. Look, bloody half a dozen cousins having a little tiffle. It's like getting drunk at a wedding and kicking off. That's what happened in World War One. That family just decided to have a bit of an argy-bargy, and we all got sucked in. So yeah.
Those are very cool. I like those. Lots of character built into them, which is nice to see.
Oh god, yeah. They're a delight. The officers. Let's kill those to there and bring up an MG team because I'm sure Shay will want to see one.
Oh, of course.
I want you to see my Maxim.
Beautiful. Still being used today.
Really being used today?
That's a workhorse.
God.
It's one of those things that whenever you hear about things like the Luger being too overly engineered,
right?
And failing in the desert an awful lot in World War II because of the dust and sand getting in, same sort of thing, but in reverse here. It has so few moving parts and so simple are the mechanisms that they just keep on trucking.
I suppose it's like the AK-47, isn't it? Like, why, what? If it's not broke, don't fix it, kind of thing.
Yeah, it still works.
Yeah.
Look at that, Shay. Somebody with a megaphone screaming at people to get forward.
It's like me in Stalingrad.
It's like in Stalingrad. Which is nice to see.
Very cool.
I like these. The Russian infantry standing around.
I love that they've just gone, this is the designation of this kit, just standing around. Yeah.
Having we wander around, guarding a post, give them a road to stand at and make sure that everybody is checked as they go past.
Oh, 0 to 100 hours. World War One edition.
Yes.
Yeah.
You could do that. There's no reason you couldn't do that.
It'd be nice to have one who's like leaning, sleeping.
Just leaning. I mean, if you're going to fight, you should at least, I suppose, stand upright. They're leaning on stuff. The Great Northern War. So this is a beefy old thing, as you can see.
Oh, 7 pages of glory.
So there's Carl himself. Hello, Carl. Charles XII. Particularly good general, by all accounts.
That makes a difference in history.
Yeah. So. it's a nice change from things. I like him striking his pose just before he goes down and annexes Zealand off the Danes. Unlucky Danes, you had your chance.
That's really nice. Lots of detail again, which is good to see. Yeah.
I'll throw up some Russian grenadiers. As I'm currently about to paint some Russian grenadiers, but not for this period. No, you won't get bigger. Oh, it's a shame. Look at them with their lovely little mitre hats. Kind of everything. I'll throw up a Swedish
Everybody
gun.
loves a good cannon.
But yeah, so this would be the early 1700s.
Right.
So that sort of piratey period for people who like that sort of ilk. Let's open the Swedish Horse Command, jump on and see about some of the others. And Russian. Pike and shot all the way.
This is very in-depth as a range then.
Yeah,
so you're going to get everything you need for this.
Well, this was I think the first one completed. So, but specifically focusing on the Russian, Swedish side of things. So there were quite a few fights there. At one point, unfortunately, Karl decided he would go and have a go at the Russians because Sweden owned a big ass chunk of Finland. At that point, Finland was part of the sort of Swedish Empire.
I see.
And then it went horribly wrong. One of those retreat from Russia in the snow, eat your own boots kind of things.
Again.
I think this was one of the first ones, but yeah.
It should have been a lesson.
the army that had up until that point been very, very good ended up being not quite as good. Some would say mostly gone. We managed to resurrect it somewhat. It had 18 good years of kicking around during that period, and then just a couple of very bad years against Russia. But yeah, I think they're lovely little figures.
All the bits and pieces you need for making your infantry and your cavalry, and then moving in with artillery as well. Very cool.
I refuse to paint Swedes.
I love that.
I actually like the blue and the yellow.
Oh, the blue and yellow is really nice, but I just refuse to do that much yellow on that many things.
Big flamboyant banana pants. There we go.
Not happening. There's the Russian artillery. So same limber, but different crew.
That guy's got the right idea. Cool guys look away from explosions.
I think he's just dropped a coin.
Where's my lucky coin?
That's my monthly wage.
Oh, that looks cool. I like that.
Yeah, the Great Northern War stuff is absolutely gorgeous. Really nicely detailed, and a good, not overly fussy level of detail on them. You can sometimes see really, really nice models with a load of the lace work really perfectly executed. But when you're batch painting units and regiments, I really don't want to do that. I want to get away with the bare minimum, please. Thank you very much. And to that end, I will. But that Great Northern War range is absolutely corking.
That's really cool.
Like I say, there's more in there, but we should leave people to dive in, have a ferret around, and see what they can find in that regards themselves.
By their new armies. Yep.
Yeah. There is one less thing I want to have a look at. Awez.
Awez. I don't know what this is. What?
Me neither. Never even heard of it.
Oh.
If I open this one. So this is the Witch of the West. She may or may not be wicked.
Well, that's just awesome.
Yeah.
And so we have the land of Awez with the Witch of the West's polearm musketeer and the grenadiers with punt gun.
Nice.
You know what punt gun is, Shay?
Yes.
We've recently watched a video on one.
Have you?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yes.
So obviously for people at home, punt guns are generally meant to be fired from a punt of a small rowboat type thing because the kickback is enormous. This time, the Wicked Witch has just got some poor buggers to hold it. He's going to be deafened.
Oh, yeah.
And that guy's going to land somewhere in the next field. In fact, with the way his hand is, he may even catapult the guy at the barrel end just over his shoulder.
What was it? The video we were watching said 800 pounds of recoil from a punt gun.
Crikey.
Something like that.
They used to go bird hunting with these things, and it would take down an entire flock. So a flock of birds would take off, like waterfowl would fly,
yeah.
and they would fire it and just take half of the flock away. Go, boom, look at me.
I'm such a good hunter, I have the easy mode button.
Yeah, very
The equivalent of dropping
100%.
dynamite into the river to get the fish.
Yeah.
Yes,
kind of thing. Yeah.
very much that in every way, shape, and form. There's some command figures as well. And I love these because they've got a really weird look to them with the big furry helmets and that sort of thing, but not half as weird as page 2 of the Land of Ways, because I'm assuming it's far, far away, because these are all the Corvi, which obviously Ben will hate for their birds with hands.
Birds with hands? No!
No, you can't do it. But look at him coming at you with his awesome double. I know they're like
Tengu kind of thing.
yeah, because and then he's got obviously his little. There's a name for them. I can't remember what the name for those picks are. Japanese picks are, but yeah.
I will admit they do look neat.
Yeah, I don't know if the because I've not read any of the Oz books, of which there are
I've only ever seen the movie,
170 or something like that.
Yeah.
Frank Baum wrote millions of them, so I imagine these forces occur in them in places because there's a lot more. I mean, when you write 24 books on the world, you can flesh it out a lot more than that just Wizard of Oz book that we see. The sort of the initial, flying monkeys and stuff, but obviously. Stuff like these kicking around is just absolutely.
Is it Alternative Armies or Sally Forth who do the other Oz stuff?
Sally Forth do an Oz based game.
So you could mix things together in that sense as well, which would be cool.
I thought.
Are they the same scale or are they?
I thought Sally Forth is smaller.
Oh,
I think it's like 15.
Dash.
Don't hold me to that. It's been a while since I've looked at it, so
wow.
I could be wrong. But I really love them with their little fancy pants. And their hands.
Literal fancy pants. Yeah. Mm. It's a very good painting of a J as well.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah.
You've got to get your right
Got to get the birds right.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, paint them up as titmice. Go for your guns. So there we go.
I love that we've had all this like serious historical stuff and they've gone wacky.
Yeah. Then right at the end, we're going to take you to land far, far away.
Yeah.
Which may or may not be where that comes from. I don't know. But anyway, yes. So, Wee Wolf miniatures. Just a very nice little collection of stuff, especially if you fancy doing a bit of the old Russian and Swedish Great
proper
War.
indie.
Proper stuff in there. But yeah, check them out. Have a butcher's. And maybe start some games in the Land of Oz. All right, we'll be back after the swish for the news.
Coming to you from the center of Northwestern Europe. Covering board games, war games, card games, and all that you love. It's the news.
Okay, everyone, we are back for the news. Lots of news. Interesting news. Good news.
Yes.
Starting with a little bit of Ghost TG0200 action in the desert.
Yes. Yes, we talked about this a little bit in a show a couple of weeks ago, actually, or where we sort of dove into some of the previews that they showed off and the fact that Grafe and now are going to be working with Artisan Designs on this. But now you are able to dive in and pick up the Desert Raid expansion for 0200 hours and start playing as the LRDG and the SAS, going up against the DAC forces of the Axis as you fight for control of the deserts and blow up plenty of airfields at the same time. So there is a new expansion pack that you can go and pick up that comes with a whole host of different models in it. So you get the Ghost, an SAS character, alongside a selection of LDRG SAS troopers at the same time, which is very cool. And then on the Axis side of things, you get the actual Erwin Rommel, which is cool, but you could just use him as a DAC officer if you really wanted to. You also get a Luftwaffe pilot, 5 DAC sentries, DAC sergeant, DAC handler, and a guard dog as well. Gotta have the guard dog, gotta have the bestest boys. Don't kill the bestest boys. If you have to, do it off screen so no one knows.
That's one way of doing it, certainly.
Yeah. So you will need the core set, obviously, for 0 to 100 hours in order to dive in and play this. But this sort of then just bolts onto the side of that, uses all the same mechanics with a few additional things thrown into the mix. They've added in some new unique mechanics for weather, for example. So that's one of the things that can affect your games. So you might have good weather, bad weather, that kind of thing. Obviously, you do a lot of night raids and stuff in this when you're sort of zooming towards airfields to blow them to pieces. If you've watched the BBC program Rogue Heroes, that might be a good shout for someone to sort of look at some action-packed SAS battles on the tabletop and say, I want to do that, dive in and have fun. I always love, as well, on these miniatures, how everyone just paints the Axis troops as bedraggled. They're always got like a proper 5 o'clock shadow going on, and are just like, I'm gonna kick your ass. You interrupted me in the middle of shaving.
Well, I mean, it wasn't always 5 o'clock shadow, to be fair.
Well, yeah,
in a lot of cases, they had the goggles on, and then when they take the goggles off, the dirt's just all clinging to the face.
Yes, that too. Yeah, so, but this is a good collection of miniatures from Artisan, as we mentioned in the previous time we talked about this. A lot of these are older miniatures, but then some of them are new that have been developed for this range, which is very nice too.
Dog handler's definitely new.
You can buy the Desert Raid expansion set as it is, which comes with everything you need to play. Obviously, you'll need the core set, as I said, but you'll get all the cards and everything. You can then get yourself the big bundle, which is this one, which comes with all the different separate packs, all sort of bolted on and sort of added into the main expansion pack, which is very cool. Or through Growth Now, and also a variety of other sellers like
I imagine North Star will.
North Star, yes. Yeah. You can buy the separate packs and things as well, and drop them into your games. You also get that casualty set as well.
Casualty.
Yeah. Myth the Fallen Lords. But yes, you can use these to mark when you've taken somebody out. So rather than just dropping a little cardboard token, you can actually have a poor dead sentry who was just smoking a cigarette.
Which will then attract other sentries.
Yes.
Actually got this guy at the bottom with the Burnous. And
he's so cool.
I got him for free last week. Nick was doing he put together random miniatures, some new, some unreleased.
Oh, wow.
And anybody who ordered any minis off him last week got one of these chucked in for free, and you just got a random thing. And out he popped. It's like, oh, that's handy. Very nice.
I love the chap on the left with his jumper on. Just very lackadaisical.
Jumper in, hand in pocket.
Yeah.
Is that not meant to be Paddy?
I think that is Mr.
I think it's meant to be Paddy,
yeah.
There we go.
Just living life to the max out in the desert.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it'd be really fascinating to see. I like 200 hours.
Great game.
Interesting how the desert expands on that, and what way it will change up how the game plays. The addition of weather, I think, is an important one.
it's great it's a great excuse to go and pick up some planes and sort of add them to your tabletops and get a hold of all that desert terrain that you were like, oh, maybe should I go for this? Yes, definitely go for it now. Yeah.
It's always the way to do it, I suppose. Always the way to do it.
Mm.
But yeah, excellent stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Sticking with history, but a more fantastical take on it. Raybox have, well, I wouldn't say announced. They currently have the Gates of Niflheim up on Gamefound for you to register your interest. If you're unaware of Raybox, they have done previously Escape from Stalingrad Z and Escape from Projekt Riese. Riese, has funded, although it hasn't been delivered yet. So this project is one that's being worked on in the background, which will take that Paths Unknown game book, sort of narrative adventure storybook. Gaming is the best way I think I can put it, into the past, away from the away from the World War II storyline, which has been sort of mapped out, and into the frozen north. Some really interesting bits and pieces going on with this. I've been sent a little 2-page story by Marco, which I don't know if it's been printed yet, but it tells about how things went horribly wrong. So the background for the Gates of Niflheim is a king in the past, Ulrich, decided to go a bit wrong, wanted immortality, and on an island off the coast had his sort of tomb converted into a massive labyrinthine affair, with various evil magic cast upon it to sort of achieve immortality. He got raffle stomped by the residents of the mainland, who decided they didn't want him eating their children on a regular basis. And that was fine until Christianity came to Scandinavia, and the monks went, there's an empty island. What do we do with empty islands? We build monasteries on them. Have a monastery, have a hermitage. It's great. We'll do that. Nothing will go wrong. I foresee no problems. And then they have to start locking monks in their cells and feeding them via ropes and buckets, because they can't go into the room because they're too savage. Flash forward not that long, and the entire monastery's gone very wrong, and they're back to baby eating. So a group of heroes are sent from the Vikings to deal with the problem once and for all. The descendants of the original people who boxed Ulrich in the tombs go back to return him from whence he came.
So cool.
They even meet up with a Christian Crusader type as well. But currently there are 5 playtest scenarios and a sort of print and play rulebook that you can get your hands on to test it out and give feedback through Board Game Geek, which, if you're interested in seeing how the game plays, then it might be worth your while picking it up, because you can get this. This is the scenario book. As you can see, every double-page spread is the full scenario plus the map you play on. So you just need some counters,
such a good miniatures
to represent the ones in the game. And then there's also a 20-page quick start rule set. If you already have Escape from Stalingrad, then you can use the tokens and components in that. You just need to get some suitable fantasy/historic figures for it to try it out.
I think this has some tokens you can print out as well at the back of this.
Yes. It has the player boards and the like towards the end. I'll skip that because otherwise it'll give away story. Skip. Don't pause, people. Oh no, it's the other book. So the main quick start book has the tokens and the like. That you
in a world where Frosthaven returned and was like, hey, the things we learnt in Jaws of the Lion, let's not do that, and brought back tiles and everything else. To have something back into like a book format like that is a really good idea. I mean, I know we talked to the folks at Raybox about this quite a lot through UKGE, didn't we? And sort of had to talk about what they were doing in their games and stuff. It just seems like such a good idea. And they've done really nice games so far, the first 2 in the series. And so seeing them do this kind of Dark Age thing is there to like definitely grab an entirely new audience. Like I know I quite liked the look of Stalingrad Z and Projekt Riese and stuff, but this one, Gates of Niflheim, I'm like yes.
Yeah, well, I mean,
we'll definitely play.
finding some Draugr up in Scandinavia.
Yeah.
It's the stuff that dreams are made of.
Mm.
Although I know Shay still wants me to bring down Stalingrad so that we can do that. After we've done the proper Stalingrad, then we can go all
Then you can play the weird World War version. It's like having Call of Duty. You've played the historical campaign and now you're playing the zombie mode.
But yeah. So like I say, if you're interested, the links are in the article to do the print and play, or you can pop over to Gamefound. There's a link from the Gamefound page where they've got people sign up there. In fact, I think he put an update out yesterday, which may already have been filled, I imagine. But he was asking for some play testers, I think like 5 of them, who'd be interested in giving it a swizz, and he would provide the prototype miniatures.
Oh, brilliant.
So 5 lucky buggers are going to get their hands on those miniatures probably about a year, if not 2 years earlier than anybody else.
Well, yeah, because the Gamefound's launching, 2024, start of 2024, isn't it, I think? Yeah.
Yes. So it's a chance to get in, try it early on, let people know what you think, let Marco and the guys know how it works, because it's the same core mechanics, but with new bolt-ons to make it more mythical fantasy. So they'll need feedback on, does this work? Does that not work? Is being attacked from behind by a flesh-eating monk a bad thing? We don't know. Anyway, moving away from that brutality and taking a look at some brutal cities, sci-fi terrain.
Yeah. So brutal cities, we looked at them towards the start of this year, actually, and in previous news stories where they did their amazing Fade Light range, which is this wonderful kind of plasticky mixed with traditional terrain building MDF stuff to create really nice sci-fi cities and things. Well, they've kind of expanded on their offerings with a new selection of modular kits. So they've got 2 that we're going to look at here. So the first of these is the Trapper Biotech collection. So this is a selection of, as you can see here, boxy style terrain pieces that can be built up as high as you like to create really interesting sort of industrial settings, or you could make it sprawling and very low, kind of get that favela look to things, which I think is quite nice. Very good for games like Infinity, Necromunda. Stargrave would be a great thing for this as well. Judge Dredd. I know a lot of people have looked at these and sort of used them to create really interesting scenarios and stuff for Infinity specifically, especially when linked with some of the larger buildings, because they are like the exact dimensions of objective rooms and things like that for ITS purposes and things, which is pretty cool. But I love this kind of like cargo container style future that they've gone with these, and the modular nature of them is really good. Lots of nice little access points built onto these as well. So I like the fact that you've got the little ladders and things there, so you know where you can climb up and all that kind of stuff as well. So it really adds to the narrative feel of your games. Lots of space for playing on top of them and inside them as well. Just a solid set of very good modular terrain that you could use in a variety of different sci-fi games there. And this is by no means the whole selection of things. I think there's around 5 to 6 kits, I think there is, for you to choose from, and all of them are modular and can be built in different ways, so you can have a lot of fun with these. It's one of those things that you could bosh together very, very quickly for use in tabletop games. Just get your airbrush out and stuff, and then get your weathering materials as well. And away you go. So
how they're attached like that, where you've got the big overhangs. Is it magnets? Is it mechanical fit? Because I'd hate to be playing and then put one model
the building just slide off
and it just to go falling off the edge. But I really do like the overhanging look of it, because it's something we don't see a lot of. The brutalist architecture, I think, looks really spot on for a lot of industrial sci-fi games, and we never really see it beyond brutal city stuff. So I love that.
Yeah, I think they're really. I missed a trick thinking about Judge Dredd. These would be amazing for that.
Oh yeah,
you could have this being like the inside or
especially with block wars.
Yeah, a portion of your block that is made up of these sort of hab units, and your judges have to battle through it or something, or your gangs battle through it.
Pretty sure ABC warriors are coming at some point, because they were Warlord showed them off at an open day earlier in the year.
There we go. Yeah.
Just put Joe Pineapples with a sniper rifle up on top of one of these and just spend your time picking off people. The best thing, they come plowing down the street. Bang.
The best thing is, right, you could come up with a gang like graffiti, and every time you control sections of the buildings, you could tag them, and then you could keep putting your tags over the top of them. The more you keep taking them back and stuff, I think that'd be really cool.
Sweet like candy.
Writing insults to the opponent's gang on your block.
Always do that anyway.
Yeah. But as well as the 28mm collection there, that's obviously great for those kind of games. They're also working very nice.
Oh, hello, John.
On some 6mm terrain. So they've actually got their eye on doing terrain that goes from 6 all the way up to 15. So they're actually looking at a variety of different smaller scales. But one of the ones that they've showed off specifically at the moment is this 6mm stuff, which is obviously great for playing some BattleTech on and sort of romping around with your big stumpy robots. The one that we saw previous to this is the Van Tan office, which is one of their larger buildings in 28mm that's been reduced down to 6, which is
debigulated.
Nice. Debigulated, that's the official term. But then they also showed off this little preview as well, which shows off that big kind of refinery complex or something there as well. And then you've got the underground complex to the side and the walls and everything as well. So a very nice little collection of stuff coming soon. Currently, only the Van Tan office is available, but they have said they're going to be ramping up production on this in the near future. So keep an eye out for it. And as we were saying, John, maybe we could pick some of these up or get them sent in, and we could have a look at building up some fun BattleTech tables.
Yes, absolutely.
That looks like they're using the same acetate or thin acrylic as the Fade Light system does. So you've got a nice curve that's being held in place by the outside.
You could turn that into like an energy coil, and you could have lights that would go up in sequence or something.
A blue glow or something in it. Yeah. That would be cool.
I'm tragic. I was just thinking it makes a really nice office block. Just have multiple lights on various floors. Anyway.
I mean, sure. Yeah.
Also that.
Also that.
I don't want to deal with lights.
But even things like the underground entrance is really nice. Because if you've got that, which clearly could be some sort of hangar for your mechs, your armor, whatever.
Yep.
That's not a million miles away from 28mm scale anyway, just to be an underground entrance for humans walking up and down.
True, yeah.
That's multi-purpose, at which point you're saving money by buying it. That's my excuse, and you can't tell me I'm wrong. Just saying. Sticking with the very small. Yes.
The Lazy Forger have started previewing the newest faction for their small scale game, their 6mm game, Full Spectrum Dominance, which Jerry has had a lot of fun with over the last little while.
Had a lot of fun with.
So this is a look at the Union, who are going to be the third faction. The fourth one is coming soon, but this is the one that's going to be detailed and sort of coming out around November time this year.
This picture, before you go on, this picture made me want to buy a radio control digger and make that.
Yes.
Make that with a basilisk kit for the gun, and then just gribbly it all up. I might still do that.
Yeah. Just to point out as well, again, just in case you didn't hear at the start, this is 6mm.
6mm.
That's how detailed these are.
Yeah.
So yeah, amazing stuff. So this is their look at the Union. It's kind of their make do and mend style faction. So I think as Lazy Fortune have talked about, it's kind of like their interpretation of orcs, kind of from like a 40k standpoint, but what they wanted to fit into their world. So kind of like we've taken industrial material and equipment and stuff, and then we've bolted big guns onto it, which I think is a really cool way of going. And as you can see, this is the first vehicle that they've shown off for this, which is the gun wagon, which I think looks very cool and kind of epitomizes everything that you are going to get from this faction. We've also seen some very nice printed versions of this. These were done by some of the community, people in the community that have kind of got their hands on the stuff early and started getting the painting done and printing off the models and showing off what it's all like and things like that. But we also got a look at some of the infantry over on Lazy Forge's Facebook page as well. So if you're, again, looking for workmen turned badasses, we work hard, we play hard, as they would say in The Simpsons. You got some very cool looking troops there that are going to be rocking and kicking ass. And as I said in the news story, it's the kind of stuff like this that puts Games Workshop to shame with their Legions Imperialis stuff, I got to say. So,
but this is one of the reasons why I was going. The Space Marines look terrible for being 8 mil when they're independent companies knocking out stuff like this at 6.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Yep. Now, obviously, these are 3D printed, which means production is on a different standard.
Yes,
it prints in one. You're not having to worry about mass production through hard plastic. But a lot of those would fit into a standard tool anyway.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't. Oh no, you could fit him on sideways, so you'd lose a bit of detail in the center and across the face, and this guy touching his face. Most of them would fit. So yeah, there's the possibility in 6 mil to do some spectacular stuff, and Lazy Forger just knocking out of the park. I got a random message from Jack as well. He's somewhere off in Asia at the moment on holidays.
Yes, he is. He's doing a tour. Yeah,
yeah. I think he sent a message going, "I should come over and come to the studio and play some games." I go, "You should, yeah."
Because the last one we played was online,
digital,
wasn't it? So
yeah. And then he came back a little while later. Well, I'm just costing it at the moment to see if it's feasible. Go on, do it, Jack. So hopefully, I imagine at that point when he arrives, I'll just be there at the end of the table pressing buttons to move the camera because John will be playing him. But I imagine that's what will happen. But yeah, absolutely stonking stuff
neat.
For the Union.
Yeah. I will also point out, I just wanted to say, the person who worked on the painting and the printing of the gun wagon was Draconian Painting. So you can go and check their profile out over on Instagram in the links down below. So
did a fantastic job on it.
Really.
And like I was saying as well, because a lot of their stuff, like between these vehicles and like some of the terrain that they've done in the past, it just suits any 6 mil sci-fi. Like this will sit in with BattleTech as well as be on its own as well. So like, because I've printed a few of their buildings off for a BattleTech table, and it's beautiful stuff. So can definitely not fault the quality.
They do a nice mix of really run down, which could be post-apocalyptic, or just terrible, out in the suburbs or out in some sort of destroyed, reconstructed country, somewhere that's suffered a nuke and is rebuilding with as much corrugated iron as they can. But then they also do very top-of-the-line industrial sort of buildings and really nice sort of, look, we've got money. We're the people who dropped the nuke. We don't need to use corrugated iron. So yeah, really, really nice range of stuff from them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Right. Let's lose a dimension.
Yes. Man, paper miniatures. Everyone's got to love paper miniatures, right? I've been delving into the world of this myself a little bit recently, but Peter's Paperboys, so this is Peter Dennis's little company, have produced a new range of stuff that I think you folks will quite like. So they've done Ancients, they've done the Dark Ages, they've done the Civil War, they've done every period that currently exists in time. They are now moving into World War II with paper miniatures. And there is a brand new bundle that you can pick up for pittance. I say pittance, man. That will get you access to a whole bunch of troops for you to play games with in 28 mil, whatever it might be. So the bundle itself comes with a huge range of models for you to choose from. You get loads and loads of Axis troops in various forms. You get your kind of standard infantry alongside specialist weapon teams and snipers and commanders and everything like that. You've also got exactly the same for the Allies. You've got British and Americans in the set. Again, coming with a selection of different...
Paper.
Oh, John, look, a paper tank. But in a entirely different meaning.
Different type of paper tank,
yeah. You've got specialists there for your allies. And then they've also got this nice selection of allied tanks that you could be playing around with. And they're actually tank riders. Oh my God, to go with them. It's so good. Obviously, you're not going to have to do the painting on these unless you print it off in black and white. Like a buffoon.
Don't do
there
that.
we go.
If you were going to do that, you would lean into the black and white and print everything in black and white and just call it a war movie.
Sepia tone.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I like that. But so you don't have to do any painting, but you will have to be a dab hand with a pair of scissors Get those embroidery scissors out. They're the best for this.
Is
and you'd be able to build up huge armies of stuff, because obviously once you get the files, you can just keep doing it as much as you like. But on top of, as I say, all of the allied infantry there, you even get civilians and casualties in the bundle set, which is really nice. On top of all the tanks, which we just saw there as well, which look incredibly detailed, you can also get yourself a bunch of terrain. So there's the ruined church that you see there. They've also done things like ruined cottages and townhouses and walls and bunkers and trenches. They've also got explosion markers for artillery, for if you want to set up big bombastic scenes on the tabletop as well. You can do that. Essentially, everything you wanted to do to dive in.
Comic book on the tabletop.
Yeah, very much so, yes. They've got everything you could need for doing 28mm World War II gaming for probably less than a starter army for most other games, which I think is really good. And there are so many free rules online that you could download to start playing some games as well with these, which is very nice. Very good.
It's absolutely sensational. One of the things I like whenever Peter's working on these is in advance, before he starts illustrating and coloring them, especially with stuff like this, there'll be a period of, how do I make this work as a paper model? And so you often get to see like just line illustration and then like plain white pages with no detail or anything on it. And it's like, well, this doesn't work for the gun barrel. Or maybe if I do the turret, like, is it better if I do the turret like this or like this? Should I make the weapons two-dimensional from the side or from the front? You know, he often asks the community the question and tinkers a lot to get the best look for the actual figures. I absolutely love this. So it's a great way to introduce kids to wargaming.
It really is.
And also hobbying as well, because it doesn't require, there's none of the, they're too young to mess around with super glue and stuff. You just go, here's Pritt stick. Here's a
stick and some safety scissors.
Here's a sharp scalpel. Get in there, kid. It'll be a learning experience.
Build up those calluses early.
Yep.
Yeah.
But just being able to go in and go, here's a whole
such a fun idea
set for World War II is cracking. I would hate to have to put the angles on that half track though. They are, isn't it though? Quality though. Absolute quality.
Yeah. So it's such a cool idea. And if you like this kind of stuff, it's very much worth going to look at Peter Dennis's and Andy Callan's series of books that they've done. You can get them all on Amazon. They've done a series of books covering lots of battles throughout history, mostly focused around British history for the most part. But you can go and get loads of them. Get photocopying. Join your local library. Do some photocopying.
So we need to print all of that in black and white, and then we need to get a black and white game map.
Yes, the black and white. Yeah. This is yes, John. Yes.
You see where I'm going with this?
I do. It's something I ran into a while ago because I decided I would paint all my Walking Dead in grayscale, like the comics, and then realized that all my mats were lovely colored things. And then I had a nosy around on the internet, and somebody had done the same thing, but had printed all the mats again, so they got a printer to print them in grayscale. And it does look spectacular. It looks really nice.
Imagine you could get the camera down really low, and you could get right up close to the characters and do some funny voices, and also
you could make a comic strip with it.
You could.
You literally could just start making Commando comics with that stuff. That'd be
that's
amazing.
The best way to do your battle reports.
Yes.
Make your World War II battle reports in the style of Commando comics. Have your ghost.
Got to make sure there's at least one person who takes about 5 minutes to die.
Shocking. Right. Before we leave the news, we have some very important people to take a look at, though.
We do. So Spectre Miniatures, who do the, as I tend to coin it, modern warfare style wargaming on the tabletop. Very focused on kind of everything sort of Cold War onwards, essentially, I would say, but very up-to-date kind of stuff. They're going to be doing a new edition of the rules around the 25th of August, when pre-orders will go live for that. But in anticipation of that, they thought they would put some of their previously STL file-based miniatures available as made to order. So you can go onto their website and order these. They will print them off for you. and you'll be able to pick them up and drop them into the games. And as Jerry was saying, these are very important people, VIPs, scenario objectives that you might run into during your games. Maybe you want to hunt down the man in black or protect the architect, or maybe kill her. I think we should probably kill her. She's probably trying to like turn Facebook into Z or something. I don't know, something weird. You've also got the attorney as well, who clearly is in the wrong, and a defense lawyer for a very, very bad person that definitely needs to get shot with a sniper rifle. And then you also have a range of other ones. Also, you've got the dragon lady. So maybe a cosmonaut has come back down in a ship, and you need to go and make sure you get to her before everybody else does, or something like that, which is very cool. You've got the EOD. So maybe you need to burst into a building and you need to get your EOD right to the explosive device so that you can disarm it, all while under sniper fire from different directions and everything else at the same time as the criminals are trying to stop you. And then they've also put together a couple of additional squads, so you can get a Russian vehicle crew who are running away from their tank. How apt. And then a local forces squad as well, which you can pick up and use in your games. And because of the way that they've armed and designed these, they could represent soldiers from a variety of different cultures. It would literally just depend on how you painted them and what you went with when it came to sort of skin tones and uniform design and everything like that. But they are just armed and ready to go.
A blue and yellow band on their arms, maybe, Shay?
There we go. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But a nice selection of different troops and sort of VIPs for you to choose from. And the thing that I really love about this kind of stuff from Spectre is that it immediately starts you thinking about the kind of scenarios that you could play. Like with the architect in particular, I was thinking of something a little bit kind of near future and having her be like at the in the midst of like a warren of servers and stuff inside a big. Because it could be a hit. Oh, it's got a beard.
It's got a beard. That would be
who
my
knows
suggestion.
nowadays? Who knows?
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, they could be in the depths of a server room where they're sort of looking after they're looking after like a virus or something, and so your soldiers have to burst into this huge high-rise building and fight through all of their goons and stuff like that as you get to them to try and take them out. I think it's very cool. So yeah, some very cool stuff there that would get you excited for playing some Spectre miniatures games on the tabletop in Spectre Operations when it lands with a new edition very, very soon.
They are
with pre-orders going up in August.
Cracking.
They are so cool.
Love those a lot. Especially the old Sam Spade style detective, the man in black.
Yes.
You know, or,
paint it yellow and away you go.
Not Dick Tracy.
Dick Tracy.
I said Sam Spade.
Paint his face green, you've got the mask at that point.
Exactly, yeah. This is exactly what Spectre intended.
Probably, yeah. Well, it's what's going
if Spectre watch this, they're going to be like, we're never sending you stuff again.
Yeah. we can't afford it. Please leave us alone. Never contact this number one more time. Right. We shall be back to finish off the show with some 3D printing and Kickstarters after this. Okay, we are back to take a look at some 3D printing.
Yes.
And we're looking at the Old Realm Forge.
So in my mission to find a whole bunch of people 3D printed things that look really old, I found another producer who's over on my mini factory and Patreon, which we'll look at in a little bit, who have been working on a range of modular and semi-modular kits, and also just regular character kits that you could use to represent your classic armies of yesteryear. As you can see by the tag that they've got there, these are particularly good for using with the Ninth Age, of course, which is a game that we have looked at in the past. But they've all been designed with that distinctly old school, old hammery feel to them, so to kind of represent the kind of troops that you would have seen for various armies, like the Wood Elves and the regular elves as well, with those big oversized weapons, which I love. I mean, look at that sword. Oh, I love that sword.
It's good time in the can there.
Yeah. And then I love that kind of classic elven belt as well that they've done, with the big gems studded into it and things like that. Very, very nice. And a very good opportunity for you to go back. And so, just like that. Yes. And obviously, when you're doing slightly old school miniatures, you have to give them funky hairstyles. Everyone apparently, especially elves, had Mohicans and Mohawks and stuff back in the day.
Certainly the stabby ones did.
Certainly the stabby ones, yeah. War
Stay away from the
dancers.
stabby. If you see a Mohawk coming your way, just run. It's because that's,
and then they start wailing.
But as coming.
Yeah, as you can see, they've got a couple of different kits for you to choose from already. So you've got the Elven Sentinels stuff there. You've got this like starter box of heroes that you could use. So if you were diving into playing some warband style games or some dungeon delvers and things like that, these would be really good options for you to choose from. You've got your dwarves and your stuff and your undead there. So if you're going to go raid some tombs, this is a great way to do that. Obviously, if you're doing classic dwarves, don't come with knees. Knees are optional.
Knees are optional.
They're just legs, belly, and head.
That's nice.
Yes.
The fact that it comes with the option to get the standard Hero Quest base.
Yeah.
So always good if you want to do that.
Really nice personality built into the characters as well. That's clearly where you need to throw the explosives to blow up the undead.
I suppose it was on that
undead
page,
too. So yeah.
Shocking.
Some really cool stuff there. They've also worked on a range of orcs. So this is the stuff that's available as part of their my mini factory stuff. So if you wanted to get together your classic style orcs, you've got them there, giving off obviously sort of classic Citadel vibes.
Yeah.
With a little bit of kind of like grenadier and stuff to them as well. So yeah, very nice indeed. Big oversized weapons. Funny faces and that style of armor, that kind of scale. So yeah, you paint that as leather or metal, depending on how you feel about your orcs, and have some fun.
Differentiate between your good orcs and your Draugr orcs. Draugr orcs, they just get cardboard cut roughly in the shape of armor and pushed into the front line.
Very true. Yeah, but I could see those being kind of your classic orcs, or you could have them painted in different ways to use them as sort of hobgoblins with your chaos dwarves potentially as well, which I think is quite nice. But either way, lots of different options for you to choose from there, which is quite good.
Sorry, I'm fixated on that well that I see in the background, but doesn't appear to exist in any of the
Jerry
files.
will find his well.
Like this guy.
Yeah. It's nice to see like actually martial undead.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's quite good about those.
No bat wings.
No bat wings.
Found some on the shield.
Kind of. Yeah. But it's a good little selection of stuff they've got there. In addition to what they do on their My Mini Factory page, though, they've also got a Patreon, so you can sign up to this and you'll obviously get a bundle of miniatures every month. Fairly low cost as well to come into, but as you can see, they're working on a whole range of different models, again, so that they could be fitted into your kind of rank and flank games of the past and obviously the Ninth Age. So you've got your sort of classic Chaos warriors there, striding forward with their behorned helmets and a range of brutal-looking weapons. Nice big bulging biceps as well. Gotta have those if you're a follower of the Dark Gods, I think.
Where they can carry those weapons.
Yeah, that helmet, nice little callback to kind of Hero Quest and stuff. Which is nice. So,
Chaos Rusher, in fact, had that.
Yeah. So a really nice little selection of things there, but they've done loads of other bits and pieces here that you can have a look at. And it's nice to see that if you go through the Patreon, you can get access to stuff a lot earlier than what's available, obviously, over on the on the My Mini Factory page. But yeah, you've got wizard elves and all sorts of different things as well. Loads of new troops for you to choose from.
Tours.
Hoods of plenty.
Loads. But it will be handy to put your mohawked lunatic in charge of this, because he does just he screams. He certainly his sword screams Scarlock.
And again, that sword design, very classic looking sword design with the jab in the center and the sort of the larger hilt, the leaf blade. Very nice. Oh, it's a good little range and relatively new in the grand scheme of things. So if you're looking to get your hands on a range of models to potentially start building your new armies for old games, you've got some good choices here with what they're putting together. Really good. So
I like how they start with the classics as well: dwarf, elf, orc, and fundead.
Yeah,
because it's they're a range that will work across a whole host of games, be it
Yes.
Page, Kings of War, Oldhammer, one-page rules, all of those. There's always room to fit some racist elves and orcs in.
Every week.
Every week.
Without fail.
Yeah.
Well, they are. They just look at humans like dogs. They're nice to have around like a pet, but really, they're gone, and then you pick up another human and you just continue in your travels.
We are the mayflies of their world.
Yep.
And
as such, they have contempt for us all. That's just how elves view the world. They are terrible. But some really nice stuff there from Old
Very nice.
Forge.
Good sword and sorcery stuff.
Next.
Yeah. I assume. Well, I would like to come back to these.
Maybe?
I would like to come back to these in maybe a couple of months and see where they've gone and what they've developed, I think, and have another look at them, I think. So
get on the ground level, as they say. See where they're going, what they're planning on, and how it's going to evolve. Get your fantasy on, people. Come on. What's keeping you? What? Outrageous.
Did you win one of our prizes? Find out on our prize claim center over at ontabletop.com. Here we list all our previous prizes and those who have won. If you see your username, fill out the form to claim your prize. All prizes must be claimed within 30 days.
Right. We have a couple of Kickstarters before we disappear over the horizon. And the first up is JOYRIDE and Survival of the Fastest. And this is coming from Rebellion Unplugged. And it's a lot of fun. We played it.
It is a lot of fun.
Good crack.
Yes.
Even I had fun.
That is a good on the box. Even John had fun.
John had fun. No spoilers for that, because the 4-player game hasn't gone out yet. They'll be going out next week, I say, in a high questioning voice. Might be 2 weeks. I don't know.
Possibly
Anyway, it's coming. There's a
during the
4-player
campaign
coming. But essentially, it is a board game for 2 to 4 players, where you will whiz around a post-apocalyptic / future world racetrack, attempting to win the game by any means necessary, fair or foul. For example, oil slicks on the track, or a rocket up the wazoo, or just pushing people straight into the barrier at turn 1, Shay. Perhaps. Who knows? Who knows how it will turn up? But the design concept itself is a really interesting one. So it uses the hex map, which allows you to do sort of power slides and drifts, and really requires you to think about how your maneuvering is going, because at high speed you can get around faster, but cornering becomes much more of a challenge unless somebody has helpfully put some oil slick on the board ahead of you, or perhaps have helped you out by a gentle nudge in the bottom to get you around that corner. So you're constantly shifting up and down gears, trying to gain the advantage on your opponent. And as you do, you can, in a Mario Kart style, collect power-ups off the track. So it's kind of Dark Future meets Mario Kart meets Mad Max, allowing you to tear all over creation and have a lot of fun doing it. So the game itself, there are 2 boxes. Essentially, there's the Duel, which is the 2-player box, and then there's the larger 4-player. However, the 2-player can be added to the 4-player, if that makes sense, because there are different drivers with different skills. So you can either have a standard sort of game where every driver has the same basic skills, which is a good way to learn the game, and it's how we played it. But then when you get a bit more advanced and you get au fait with how the game mechanics work, you can then start flipping the cards over and using the specific driver, whether it's a little old lady who just refuses to ever put the brakes on, or some half-crazed lunatic flooring it all the time and doing donuts everywhere while firing off rockets. You can change.
We're not saying that's Shay, but it's Shay.
Yeah, you can change up then how the game plays, or how the actual cards perform, because at that point it becomes a bit more asymmetric. So you can have a very standard game, or you can play an asymmetric one. And then the maps themselves, I believe you have a couple of double-sided maps for each one, but then the map setup is customizable depending on the scenario, or you can start customizing once you get
Just
okay
make
with
your
yourself.
own, yeah.
You make your own. So you set the gates up, because even though there's tracks and there are specific gates to go through, you don't have to go through them in the same order. You don't have to go gate 1, 2, and 3. You can go gate 2, 3, 1 over the finish line. Whatever way helps you to win, and in there you can absolutely go chock-a-block. But I really like the components. I know I imagine there's probably screaming in the comments, oh, it would look great with some cars, XYZ, 3D printed, hard plastic, blah, blah, blah. I really like the fact they've just gone with a big, chunky, full color meeple of a car. It has a certain solidity to it that I appreciate. And it's a really visually striking setup for the game as well. Everything's really sort of poppy and like high contrast. Everything's been turned up to 11. It's like saturate all the colors, which is absolutely great. I believe there's also a third expansion, which is exclusive to the biggest.
So the biggest pledge gets you the zoo. There's the Joyride one which has been added in, as you can see there, but there's the one that was there when the Kickstarter initial list is a zoo one where there's a big beast that is chasing you around. There you go.
The big day out.
The big day out.
Yeah.
So you're right. You are still doing the same thing and racing around, trying to get to the checkpoints and taking each other out. But there's also a big nasty beastie who is trying to wreck your face. So yeah,
which is always good, clean family fun. Because I mean, the basic 2-player is cheap as chips.
Yeah,
30 quid. Get in there. But then the 4-player is 50, or the give us everything is 100, and then that includes some of the exclusive upgrades.
The £100 one, or at least the turbo boosted pledge, depending on, obviously the price would vary depending on where you are, but the £100 one is the one where you get the stretch goals and everything they've unlocked. The other two are just the games, whereas if you go for the turbo boosted one, you get all the extra stuff that's got bolted onto it, the campaign and stuff. So
you can even see various reprobates playing at Dice Tower, and some complete hillbillies from Northern Ireland turning the game designer into mush as he has to deal with our
his
carnage.
Brain was melting.
Oh, poor Duncan. My heart goes out to him. But yeah, it's a really fun game. Just being able to slap it down and just tear around the tracks. I know Shay really appreciated it once he got his head round the turning, because you're always front wheel driving it, so the back can kick out and stuff. And on the hex map, that gives you a lot of interesting combinations that you can do. But yeah, and poor John drafted in for the 4-player game. It's like, we'll give you the designer to help you out. And how did that go for you, John? It's a good time.
Oh yeah. I'm not going to spoil it. It was a good game. Per games.
Well, yeah. I don't think he realized just how much damage we could do. I mean, I'd like to think that we were stress testing it. Because if we could get round the board, then anybody can get round that board. But there's a lot of interesting little changes and quirks to the game itself. So as you play and you take damage, you have to assign the damage yourself, and that might be locking up gears, so you can't get into the highest gear anymore, which may cause you problems in the final turns when you just can't get as quick a go out of the traps as your opponent. Or you can decide that maybe you'll break off the sort of the spawn points for your pickups, because you only carry 2, and while they don't affect the car's handling, it does mean then that you're at a disadvantage because your opponent can start firing a rocket up your wazoo, or covering the track in front of you in oil and causing you to crash into walls. So there's, even though it's a mechanically simple game, it starts asking questions right from the off. And then when you add into that the different drivers and the like that you have, you can have an awful lot of fun with how you play out your games and how you crash into the walls and upset your friends and family. It's good. It's good times. There are 20 days left. If you fancy being a Joyrider and taking the survival of the fastest to a whole new level, you can do that thing. I definitely recommend that one. It is a corker. So yes, we have another Kickstarter there, and it's a bit more sedate.
Yes,
sensible.
Still perilous, but a bit more sensible. So this comes from Exalted Funeral and Necrotic Gnome. We looked at Exalted Funeral stuff.
We did, a
couple of weeks ago in an indie where we had a look at all their variety of different RPGs and things that they do. But this is them taking their old school essentials mechanics and applying it to a very fascinating new game that is called Dolmenwood. So Dolmenwood is a fantasy world that is inspired by fairy tales and the eerie folklore. It's also, as I'm reading it, of the British Isles. You will be taking on the role of characters that will be very familiar to kind of D&D players of the past, like the proper past, as well as lots of quirky additional things that have been added in to kind of get those folklore vibes. You'll be exploring a massive wild wood full of strange creatures, uncovering lost treasures, defeating fell beasts in the classic fashion of knights and ladies of yore, as well as doing all sorts of other bits and pieces as you romp through fantasy kingdoms. There's a selection of books that you can choose from as part of the Kickstarter. So you get the player's book, which is obviously there for the players, the campaign book for your storytellers, your narrators, and there's also a full monster book, which comes packed with lovely artwork and a range of different creatures, again, sort of drawn from folklore from the British Isles. And the mechanics themselves, as I say, are tied into kind of old school D&D in that way. So if you have played any of their old school essential stuff in the past, it'll be very familiar to you. Even if you've played 5th edition, a lot of it is going to be very familiar as well. A lot of the core mechanics are based around D20s, but you've also got other dice that are in there for different checks. So skill checks and stuff like that are dealt with different dice and things in order for you to do that. There's also a really big focus on sort of randomly generating characters. So rather than it being like a min-maxing experience, as you sometimes get with D&D, this one's very much let's just roll and see what happens kind of thing. So you might start out with an idea of the kind of knight or paladin that you want to make, but by the end of your character creation journey, you might be in an entirely different whack. It's got the head of a Leshen, but the body of a man, a fiendish man. If this kind of sounds like it's up your Strasse, as Jerry would say, there is a preview PDF that you can download, so you can have a look at the game and see what you think of it. So you can try before you buy, actually, as a lot of people do. Comes with loads of information in there for getting characters together and starting out as you do, as well as some nice little sort of background on the world that they've created. I think the artwork is phenomenal and really helps to set the scene.
There's a mix of artists doing various things, so you get a lot of sort of characters and monsters and bits and pieces by various artists, but this, I don't know which of the artists is responsible for this sort of fairy tale-like one that keeps cropping up throughout, but it's absolutely spanking. I love this. We were talking about this earlier. It has like a watercolor feel to it, and it's just absolutely gorgeous.
It's the kind of stuff you would have seen in sort of late 90s kids show stuff where they would have done like that kind of 2D art kind of thing. So it was really nice.
Oh, yeah. Like Mr. Ben or Pigeon Street.
Yes.
That sort of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot going on.
That's more Leshen, yes. Wait until we find an actual Leshen in the monster section. But
we may never do that. I'll stop before we reach it. Don't worry. As
Jerry's flicking through this, I'll just talk a little bit more about it. So in addition to the different books that you can get to sort of get you started in the game, there's also 4 adventure books have already been written for Dolmenwood. So if you are somebody who's maybe new to storytelling, or you just don't have the time to plan out campaigns and that kind of thing, happens to the best of us, or well, it happens to all of us, really, if you're a GM. There's 4 adventure books that you can dive into that will allow you to start telling tales straight away. So you'll be able to just follow along with those and get the full experience of the Dolmenwood world. As you saw by that map, I just love this idea of this big spooky forest on the fringes of your empire and stuff that you're going to be looking out to. I think it's really nice. As well as all the books, there's also a selection of 32mm miniatures that you can pick up. So if you want to, in Jerry's humble opinion, play incorrectly,
correct,
you can get a selection of miniatures based on
that opinion,
based on the different character classes and lineages and stuff. They were by David Lee Whitaker, who's worked on those. And you'll be able to pick those up and use them as your characters if you wanted to in your games. I think this would be a shoe-in to pick this up and then attach it to some of the Loke stuff, because a lot of the Loke battle mats have got really nice sort of wilderness stuff attached to them and things, and you can have some really good fun with that.
Hell of a hat.
There you go. You got to have a lovely hat if you're a hero. I think it's really nice. The last thing I'll say as well is, as I said, this is very much kind of like a old school style of role playing game. So death is around every corner.
Yes, there's a certainty.
Yes, and so it is very much a case of you and your friends working together in order to defeat your.
It's final soundtrack.
There was a final soundtrack for all the hipsters out there. But yeah, so this is very much a focus on sort of parties working together. There's no kind of like, I'm going to be the individual hero, just do everything kind of thing. This is very much a kind of dive in and work together kind of role play where you'll be emphasizing the cooperative nature of things. Jerry can hear this wonderful music, but everyone else can't.
Just keep talking, boy.
But yeah, I think if you're looking for an alternative role playing game to dive into and have fun with, that has got that kind of draw, that lure of British folklore and stuff from our fair isles, then this is definitely one to go and have a look at. Arthurian to the max and then some, I suppose.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't know how true it is. I was talking to somebody about this a couple of weeks ago before it launched, and some people were saying that they've been working on and off for the guts of a decade on Dolmenwood. That's why it's so massive already.
I think it is one of those games that has been through a few kind of like test iterations and all that kind of thing. And this is the final big kind of like, I think we're ready to present this to the world. And present it to the world they have, because this is ridiculously well funded. So as you can see, they're nearing on 1.2 million. So
they've got much further in this campaign than on any fantasy campaign map I've ever been on an RPG. Generally get to about here.
There you go. That's session 3. Dies. And then everyone,
everybody dies, and then you can't get somebody back for session 4. But yeah, there's some kind of stuff. And I mean, you can go absolutely full on, pick up everything, get all the lovely cloth maps and all the rest, or you can just grab whatever, the basic core book or the core PDF. So yeah, there's a ton of unlocks in there already. He looks like he's seen the Dolmenwood.
He's seen the flesh.
Well, you would. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. And the quality of the stuff from Exalted Funeral for production is top notch, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with Necrotic Gnome's work here. That is absolutely terrific. 21 days left on that one. If you fancy some classic old school fantasy, then why not go and frolic into Dolmenwood? I'm sure it'll be perfectly safe. Don't worry about it. Right, that wraps us up for another week. We shall return next Friday, where we'll do this all over again with all the new news that's come out over the last 7 days. But if that's too far away for you, join us on Sunday morning for the Cult of Games XLBS over on tabletop.com. You can join us for a 30-day free trial if you're not already a cultist. Otherwise, we'll see you then. Don't forget, check if you've won. And don't forget to put a comment below if you want to win those lovely Primaris-looking things, including Danny Vader, the librarian. Until next week, have a great week of gaming. Bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.